Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Corbin Kepner. I'm your host of the Corbin Kepner YouTube channel, founding president of the Corbin Kepner Foundation. And I am here to simply evaluate the first initial draft of candidates for the National Garden of American Heroes. For those of you that aren't aware, the National Guard of American Heroes was proposed in an executive order by President Donald Trump shortly before being ousted from office, and it is a proposed sculpture garden with the intention of honoring great figures of American history. We're going to be evaluating here who they are, how great they are, and if they're great enough and if they're hero enough to make the cut. And perhaps I might throw in a couple of my own ideas as to who I think should be considered an American hero. This isn't exactly the high-octane content that you may have grown to expect after the short film Miami State of Mind, and I will admit I am working right now on a couple different projects, trying to get some things off the ground. And so in the meantime, we have a little bit of filler content. And for anyone thinking, oh, is it a great idea to start your channel off with filler content? My response is, moving on. In order to adequately rate these entrants to the garden, you have to stay on a full stomach. Make sure you're energized and have the right nutrients in your system. So for that purpose, I have some delicious whole milk and Lady Gaga Chromatica Oreos. Let's begin. We're going to start with President John Adams. For those of you who aren't aware, John Adams served as the second president of the United States after serving as the vice president under George Washington. And he is most well known for having mutton chops as a haircut. Isn't that wonderful? Coming to the tier list, we can see him right here. Statesman, Revolutionary War hero, overall respected as a decent president. I think it's safe to put him at a solid A tier. Starting off strong with this here tier list. Wonderful man. Next on the list we have Susan B. Anthony, who was a proponent of social reform and holding a pivotal role in the women's suffrage movement. I think it's very clear to put her in an S tier. But the fact of the matter, am I putting her in S tier because she was a key feminist figure, or it's because her name starts with an S? Next on our list, after Susan B. Anthony, we have Clara Barton, who was a nurse during the Civil War and is accredited for founding the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross, and now as well the International Red Cross, play such important roles in helping those in need across the planet. I think there's no better place to put her other than C tier. Moving on to the next spot on our list, we have Daniel Boone being an exceptional American pioneer and frontiersman, making him one of the first American folk heroes. He was responsible for a significant amount of expansion beyond the 13 colonies, despite the resistance of America's native inhabitants. And because of that, we're going to put him in F tier, because that's fucked. Next up on our list, we have one Henry Clay, an attorney and statesman who represented Kentucky in both the Senate and the House. He is recognized as helping found the Whig Party and the Republican Party, which, in hindsight, not great, but all things considered, at the time and for about a century afterwards, was probably a good thing. So for that, pretty hard to rank spot. I think we're gonna put him at a solid B tier, and just not talk about it again. Next up on our list, we have our second pioneer and folk hero, Davy Crockett. This one more known for becoming a politician himself. And then he went on to assumably die in the Texas Revolution. We have two pictures of Davy Crockett. We have politician Davy Crockett with absolutely zero drip. And we're going to go ahead and put him at F tier. But we have here another picture of Davy Crockett. He has that thing on him, and he also has two dogs. So we're going to go ahead and put him at A tier. Next up on our list, we have one Frederick Douglass. We have a well-known abolitionist and anti-slavery reformist who was an escaped slave himself. I think he belongs at a very strong S tier. Is any of this funny? After Frederick Douglass, we have another founding father of America, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin being a key influential writer, printer, political philosopher, politician, and scientist. He also invented the lightning rod, which helped attract lightning bolts so that they didn't strike people, therefore defending man from God's wrath. And I think for that, he definitely belongs at a strong S tier. Next up, we have another well-known political figure, Alexander Hamilton. He was yet another statesman and politician and scholar, as well as one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. He helped found the nation's initial financial system, considering he helped establish a significant portion of the groundwork of America. He'd probably be ranked pretty high, but he helped establish banks and therefore economy, which is why everyone is poor except for 0.3% of the world, and we're all miserable. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him at D tier for debt that we're all in. Next up on our list, we have one Thomas Jefferson, yet another statesman and founding father. And because I'm sick of saying that, we're going to go ahead and put him in F tier, because that's boring and he should have come sooner. Jumping back into at least semi-modern times, we have the one and only Martin Luther King Jr., well known for being a civil rights activist and being pivotal in the end of segregation. I think very clearly, probably more than anyone else on this list, belongs at S tier. So we're going to go ahead and put him right at the top. Next up on our list, similar to Martin Luther King in certain ways, we have the one and only Abraham Lincoln. Similar to how Martin Luther King helped bring an end to segregation, Abraham Lincoln helped bring an end to slavery. And then there was a war over it, because some people are fucking assholes. So we're going to go ahead and put Abraham Lincoln also at S tier. A man well known for having a wonderful beard. So when I saw this picture of him without a beard, it looked incredibly strange and made me realize, good God, this man looks like Big Bird. Look at that schnoz. That's a honker right there. Next up, we have one Dolly Madison, who was the First Lady from 1809 to 1817, and is well known for holding social functions in which she invited members of both political parties, thereby spearheading the concept of bipartisanship. And I think that's got to be a good A tier. I hope you agree. After that, we have George S. Patton Jr., who was a general and is well regarded for the success of Normandy. Thinking about George S. Patton kind of makes me consider war in general and think about Normandy specifically. We kind of just sent hundreds of dudes on boats towards a beach in which the Germans were essentially playing Call of Duty Zombies, just pointing their guns and spraying. And that's awful. So I'm going to put him at C tier. After George S. Patton, we have one Ronald Reagan, most well known for being the namesake of the song Ronald Reagan by Killer Mike. He was the first actor to become a president of the United States of America, and unfortunately, not the last. He's also well known for essentially ignoring AIDS existing, so we're going to put him at F tier. Next up, we have one Jackie Robinson, well known as being the first African American to play in the previously all-white American Baseball League, and would then in the future be played in a feature film by T'Challa, the King of Wakanda. We're going to go ahead and put him at a solid S tier. Next up, the last woman on our list is the one and only Harriet Tubman. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know who Harriet Tubman is, but for those that don't, she was probably the most prolific leader and guide on the Underground Railroad and belongs at a solid S tier. Next up, we have Booker T. Washington, who was an advisor to many presidents and was the dominant leader of the African American community and did a considerable amount of fighting against discriminatory and oppressive laws in the post-Reconstruction South. And I think that puts him at a solid S tier. After Booker T. Washington, we have one George Washington, who, first president of the United States, you already know, but you also already know I'm sick of founding fathers. So he's going in F tier, right underneath Reagan. Now we're going to get into the wonderful meat and potatoes, the real good ones, who in my expert opinion, as a leader of the people myself, who I believe belongs in the Garden of National Heroes. So, first and foremost, let's take a look at who we already have and see who can be done better. Booker T. Washington, wonderful guy, great guy. Only one thing better. There's already a better Booker T in American history, and that is the one and only five-time champion Booker T. A key figure in African American history in professional wrestling, the innovator of the scissor kick, absolutely belongs on our list. Next up, we have, you can see there's plenty of presidents on this list, and I think that we should possibly add one more. The one and possibly greatest president of our lives, George Bush. The only thing better than George Bush is George Bush as played by Dave Chappelle. Absolutely superb and deserving of a statue of his own. Let's take a look at some other things. We have two pioneers. Three if you count the fact that I, for some reason, decided to put two pictures of Davy Crockett. These men played a key role in the construction of America. Who else has a key role in construction? The one and only Tim Allen. The frontman of Home Improvement. He helped build the concept of the American family, and I think definitely belongs, is undeniably an American hero. Now let's take a moment to look at Jackie Robinson, and we can kind of tell there's only one athlete on this list, and I think there's room for several more. So first and foremost, possibly the greatest athlete in physical sports of all American history, O.J. Simpson.
Hey Twitter world, this is yours truly.
A absolute legend and hero of the American sports community. Possibly a controversial figure in his personal life, but I think that's his business. And when we get down to brass tacks, a great sportsman and a absolute wonderful role model for the kids. Next, another excellent American sports legend, the one and only Tyler One. Most well known for being built different and being undeniably the greatest League of Legends player of all time. Strong S tier. Let's put him right next to Jackie. Looking at Benjamin Franklin, looking at a lot of these people, we're seeing a lot of teachers, and I don't think there's anyone in this world who has taught the American people more lessons than the one and only Homer Simpson.
Homer Simpson!
A absolute icon of a man, excellent American father, absolutely well-deserving of being on this list. Let's put him right between the other two greatest of American fathers on television, Tim Allen and O.J. Tim Allen and O.J. Simpson. The last on our list, until perhaps in the future I may see fit to add more. One thing, George S. Patton, known as Old Blood and Guts, probably for sending hundreds of teenagers and young adult American men into a meat grinder of German bullets. I think he should possibly be removed from the list and replaced by someone else. Who is possibly the greatest George of American history? That's right, I think we should replace George Patton with the one and only George Costanza.
You're damn right it's me.
George Costanza, a absolute philosopher and American icon of wisdom and knowledge. Alright, that's my list, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you agree, because I am fundamentally correct. Feel free to comment below and let myself and others know if I am correct or you are wrong. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you in the next video. Imagine. Oh my god, imagine it's just a fucking... the statue is him putting the gloves on and pretending they don't fit. And there's a plaque. The plaque says,
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.